Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to you here in my bedroom in the great state of Kansas. And today I was continuing on with talking about the top 20 favorite cinematic video games. I already did 20 through 11, so part 1. So part 2, we'll see, probably get 10 through 6 on this one and really talk about some of my favorite video games of all time. And I got a friend here that's joining me today. This is Kirk. Just got him the other day, so you might see him in the background. All right. Number 10. Number 10, I have a video game called Chrono Trigger. And this was a video game that came on the Super Nintendo I had back in the mid 90s or so period. And man, I remember being so excited to get this game. I remember going to the store and it was 60 bucks. I remember 60 bucks and I had, not including tax. And so I had the money saved up and remember buying this game. And man, I spent so many Saturdays, hours and hours on this video game. And it's another RPG game, turn-based style, with a big story, playable characters that you get into fight scenes, and you got to pick, attack or use magic or use an item and all that. And what this game was so cool, not only were the graphics like pretty good for that time period, musical score is absolutely amazing, one of the best I've ever heard. A lot of these RPGs have great musical scores, but Chrono Trigger, you play the character Chrono, and it's like 1000 whatever time period they're in the game. Like, I don't know if they use AD, but let's say it's 1000 AD. So it's a Millennium Fair that's going on, and I love how you wake up with, you see like some fireworks or something from the fair, and the music comes in, and you go to Chrono's house, and he's waking up, and the mom comes, and the chimes, like I think there's some bell chimes or something, and she wakes you up, and he's like, Chrono, wake up for the fair. And you're waking up and you're introduced to Chrono, and you go to the fair, and that's where you bump into a mysterious woman. Turns out to be the princess, kind of escaped to the castle. And then you have a friend, Luca, who has invented this teleportation machine at the fair. Your friend, who's the princess, gets into the machine. She has a necklace or heirloom from her royal family that somehow, combined with the teleportation machine, opens up a portal, sends her back in time into the past. So as you use Chrono, you decide to get into the portal as well to go help rescue her, I guess, and bring her back to modern time. And so you go back in the past, and you go find her and all this, and rescue her from a monster and all this. And you come back, and you bring her back to the castle, and the king thinks you kidnapped the princess, and you get put on trial. There's a whole trial scene even in the video game. It's kind of fun. And then you get put into prison, and you have to escape, and all this. And while you and Luca and Princess are escaping, you come across a mysterious portal. You go through it. You go into the future this time, but it's like a post-apocalyptic future. Human beings are just barely surviving, and you find out that in the future there's this monster, Lavos, who comes out of the ground and kind of almost destroys all mankind. And so three of you kind of make a pact to make sure to save humanity, I guess, and use these time traveling to find Lavos, to find whoever woke up Lavos, and defeat that person before Lavos happens and destroys all humanity. So it's a really, it's very high stakes. Humanity's in your hands, and you and your friends and people that you meet. There's a robot named Robo. There's a half man, half frog character that joins you, and then there's a prehistoric woman also. Not a lot of characters played in this one, and you play 3 at a time as you battle and all that. And at first, Chrono is pretty much you have to be Chrono all the time. He's in every party, whatever, with 2 other people. And what I love about this video game is the time travel aspect. I love that you add that to this video game where you're traveling to different time periods to stop, people and figure out where to go and all this. And then later on, you find a spacecraft that can time travel itself, and so that's a lot of fun time traveling. And there's a period where you meet all kinds of characters that that are important to the story. And there's a part where there's almost like this where you can freely go with whatever time period you want, and there's different side quests that you can do, which is, for Nintendo, that's a really cool thing at the time for RPGs. You don't always have side quests. You usually just have a main storyline that you just follow the main storyline, whatever. But there's a real cool part where you can go to any time period and go through these different side quests, and you don't have to go through them to beat the game, but it's just a lot of fun and a lot of fun story ideas, and it kind of changes the ending a little bit. And that's the cool thing. That's another really cool thing about the video game that wasn't always done at that time, is that depending on what side quests you do, the ending is different. So I love that about the video game itself. But yeah, anyways, there's so much more to talk about the video game, but overall, just love the whole story aspect and the time traveling and the different endings you can have at the end and all that, and just the grave, stakes that are at hand for all mankind. Makes it really fun, and there's some pretty cool other things that happen throughout the video game that I can't even get into that are such cool story moments in this video game. Especially, like I said, I love how you can time travel in the past. You do something there and it changes the future. Love that about time travel. So, Chrono Trigger, amazing game, one of the best RPGs, and very cinematic for that reason. Number 9, I have The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Definitely considered one of the greatest, if not the greatest, Nintendo 64 video game, and one of the best Zelda games ever created. I'm a huge fan of Zelda. I've already had a couple of Zelda games on my list. Zelda seemed like the first video game RPG kind of video game that really made me feel like I was playing like a character in a movie, and I was playing out a grand story, or stuff like that. And so that's why I've always been huge on Zelda. It feels like the first one to really give you that feeling, and that's why I love these games. And there's more Zelda games I haven't played, so they're not on my list, unfortunately, like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and Four Swords and some other ones. But this is definitely one you have to play. And if you grew up in the 90s, this is definitely a huge game changer. Of course, with the graphics, the more 3D graphics, the ability to use a joystick to move around, the targeting feature where you held Z and you target an opponent, and then you can do like backflips and side moves, and it helps you combat strategy more for different opponent or different bad guys in the video game, of course. And you got, anyways, you got this great story. You're kind of a kid at first, and you meet the princess and Zelda, of course, and then you find out there's bad guy Ganon, and you need to go get these crystals, I think, or something like that. You need to get the stuff, and then you come to this temple, and there's of course, the Master Sword as always, and then you, I think, get the Master Sword, or you something with the Master Sword, and Ganon traps you into this temple for I don't know, for 70 years or something. I forget, for a time period where when you wake up, you're actually like an adult Zelda. So that's a really cool aspect of it. Where oh my gosh, you go from kid Zelda, not Zelda, Link, sorry, kid Link to adult Link. Anyways, and that's a very cool thing I've never seen in a Zelda video game. And then you go about, you having to go different, of course, temples, and it's like when you go in the future, Ganon's kind of taken over or something like that. And there's this mysterious figure that follows you around that gives you advice or helps you out. Also, you have a fairy that follows you around. One of the coolest moments of the video game that really was made you know that this was a game changer. It was one of the first thing that happens in the video game. You're in the POV of the fairy that follows you through the game, and you follow it as it goes through this I think Deku Forest, whatever, where your character first starts, and it flies, and you're following it as it's flying, and you've seen all these different characters, and then it even bumps his head on a fence, and shakes his head it just hit his noggin, and the camera shakes. And I remember when I first played that video game, we're like, oh man, this is so cool. It's cool point of view feature. that really gets into the game. So stuff like that was really awesome at the time, and still a lot of fun to play today and see that. But yeah, I love the whole story with Ganon and the princess Zelda, and going to different temples, and of course it follows kind of like what most Zelda video games follow. A lot of different characters they come across. It's also one of the funniest video games I've ever played. Definitely laughed quite a bit. A lot of funny dialogue throughout it, and stuff that happens. And I love the building of the character. You can get different, colored, shirts and hats and different, swords and shields, throughout as you build up your character. And one of the best things is probably the boss battles. Like every time you go into a boss battle, like they show like a little intro to the boss, and always a great intro. Like it feels like you're very cinematic, like you're in a movie, and here they do different camera angles and stuff before they reveal the boss. And you go, oh my gosh, it's a big spider, it's big lava monster, whatever it is. Anyway, so do love how they introduce each boss battle. Anyways, and then I'll end with like at the very end you go fight Ganon on top of this tower or whatever, and you're fighting Ganon as this human kind of form, and you defeat him basically, and then you have to race out of the tower because it's falling down, and so things are falling around you as you're trying to escape the tower. So you have like a little time limit of getting through the tower before it falls down on you, and you get through it, and the tower falls down. It's rubble, and you're like, oh good, we defeated Ganon. His tower is down. We saved the day. Everything's over. And then nope, Ganon evidently turns into like this big scorpion monster or something, rises out of the rubble, and I'm like, oh my god, now I gotta fight this big monster Ganon. Anyway, so very cool. Love that aspect of it. And after you defeat that, of course, you beat the game and all that, and great ending to it. So yeah, one of my favorite Zelda games, probably maybe my favorite Zelda game of all time. Also, I didn't even talk about, you have an ocarina, which is this flute kind of instrument that you play, kind of a shell instrument, and I think it does stuff like time travel, and you can play different tunes on it, which is a really cool aspect as well. Anyway, so Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, number 9 on my list. Number 8, I put Call of Duty Modern Warfare. The whole series of Modern Warfare, definitely another. I keep using this word. I'm sorry, but it's true. It's totally a game changer in the first-person shooter, just like even GoldenEye was for the Nintendo 64. But I first played this on Xbox 360, and man, the intro is just like this cool, like intro to like you'd see in a movie where you're in a car and the car is driving, all the stuff is happening around you, and you can even move the joystick and move the head around to see what's going on. You see people getting shot in the street, and you get to this like the terrorist, the main bad guy, I think, who then maybe kills you at the end. So it's like the point of view of somebody that's, and credits are rolling. Like you see credits of like who's developed the game. So it's like really like one of the most cinematic beginnings I've ever seen in a video game. And again, Call of Duty was first like I think probably like most first-person shooters was more like a World War II, like was very popular for like Medal of Honor and stuff like that. Or you had more monsters and alien type first-person shooters like Halo and Doom. But as far as like military, this was the first one where it was like you're in modern day. You weren't back in the past and doing in a war. You're kind of almost a fictional like modern day war or something. And you play like a new Marine or whatever it is that's your armed forces that you're in, special forces, and so you meet all these different characters, and you're like on your first mission, like in a submarine, and the submarine starts sinking. You have to get out of the submarine before you drown, and all this. That's like the first mission. And then throughout the video games and throughout the whole series, there's like 4, I think, Modern Warfare games, and throughout the whole, from game to game, even though you have like an ending, it seems like they kind of continue on, like they all connect. That's what I love about playing the whole series. When I played all series, like when you get to Modern Warfare 4, you'll meet a character from that maybe you met in the first game. You're like, oh my gosh, that guy, he was from the first game. So it almost feels like it's like a real movie sequel or something. And of course, the game playing is absolutely amazing. How you shoot people and get behind things, and how you snipe them, and it almost feels like you're really in war. And how how to like, oh, I gotta get undercut, I need to get behind something, make sure no one's behind me, and kind of makes you more aware of your surroundings like I've never seen before. And then of course there's dialogue between characters, and you don't only play just one character, but you go through different characters and you go through all the world. That's what I love about the Modern Warfare. And you're like out in the streets, maybe fighting the bad guy. There's one where you're like in France and you can see the tower or the Eiffel Tower, and Eiffel Tower gets blown up and falls down. So it's like, oh my god, like that would be so cool if that happened. I mean, not cool, but like that's crazy. It happened in real life. One of my favorite missions is you're like in the White House, and someone invaded the White House, and you're like protecting the White House. And I've never been to the White House, but I'm like, it feels like, man, I'm like in the White House, like defending it. Like it's so cool. I think one, you're like on Air Force One fighting people. So I love, and like sometimes you're like underwater, sometimes like you're in the mountains, sometimes you're driving a tank, you're in the jungle. Like the different variety of settings is so cool, and makes it like, to me, the best first-person shooter game I've ever played. Like I said, like there's like one character, there's like this terrorist character that you shoot, and you shoot his arm off, and you're sniping him or something like that. And then you find out he's still alive, and he comes back in another video game, I think, and you're like, oh my gosh, that guy, the terrorist from the first game. And the endings are always very cinematic, where like there's one where like a commanding officer like turns on everybody and kills some of your people that you like play as, and you're getting like in a knife fight with them, and it's like, push this button to do this, push this button to do, and then you have to push buttons at a certain time to, get to the ending of this fight. Or there's one where you're on a bridge, and the bad guys are shooting at you, and you're like on a bridge, and then you have to push a button, and you slide like the gun across the ground to somebody else who picks it up, and then you have like a really like only one shot to like save the day. It's so cool. Like those cinematic moments make it like, yeah, like I said, very much like feel like you're in a war movie or something. Anyway, so yeah, that's why I had to put Call of Duty at number 8. Like I said, I love first-person shooters, and this is like the best first-person shooter video game I've ever played. Speaking of kind of first-person shooters in a different sense, I have at number 7 Red Dead Redemption 2. Which, oh my gosh, like both Red Dead Redemption games are absolutely amazing. This could be even higher on the list, but it's so hard because all these video games are so great. Yeah, I know my friend Adam, I think this is like his favorite video game of all time. And it's a prequel to Red Dead Redemption, which is already like a great video game and great story. So this one takes characters before the events of the first game, which is really cool because you get more characters. The first game, you only play it as like one character, and you have like one mission mostly throughout the game, and you don't have as many other characters that you kind of talk to or friends with or all this. But this game has tons of characters. I've never seen a video game with so many different characters that you get to come across and talk to and have missions and all this, and you get the different character, the different personalities and all that. And then characters die, and you're like feel very sad. You're like, oh my gosh, that's my friend, like that we went on missions together, and now he's dead. And so there is a bunch of shocking moments and sadness and all that. Basically, you're in a gang. You're in a gang at the beginning. Oh man, it's so cinematic because you're going through the snow. It's like wintertime, and you're trying to find shelter. And man, snow looks so real. Like again, I had this on PS4, I believe. Yeah, that's what I have on PS4. So very good graphics and all that. And so the first part, you're just like trying to find shelter, and you get in a shootout, and then the leader of your gang, your main character is Arthur, who you play, who's a great character, who's like, it's like he's a bad guy, but yet he's got a heart of gold kind of bad guy. And you even come across like this nun who always tells you like, you're a good person. You're like, no, I'm not a good person, all this. So I love that aspect. Or even like come across an ex-lover who you wanted to marry at one time, and there's some great story moments. There's one story moment where you just go on a date with her, and that's like the whole mission, which is kind of cool, and it's like definitely develops the character in a way I've never seen in a video game before. But of course, like the best thing is that you feel like you're a cowboy in a western, and that's the greatest thing about these kind of video games, is feeling like you're in another time period and you're doing something you never could do in real life. You know, I love how you can change the clothes and the way your character looks. So you totally can, uh, style your character the way you want, which I love doing that in video games. And you can go get what kind of guns you want to fight with, and the horse you get to design that as well a little bit. Anyways, but I love just riding on a horse through the different, and there's all these different towns that you get to explore, and it looks like a real town. I mean, there's so many people walking around. I've never seen a video game with so many, people just walking around that you can bump into and have a conversation with. Like, you run in any town and someone will just come across you and you'll have a conversation with them. And you're like wow. Like, usually in a video game, like, you'll come across somebody and they only tell you, like, they're only programmed to say like one sentence or something like that. But in this game, it's like you come across somebody every time. They say something different to you. Like, they have so much more dialogue programmed in them, which I think is like really, really awesome. And one of my favorite parts, I think best part of this game, is just like that you feel like you're in a real, old west setting, a real town, with real businesses running and real people just living their lives. It's just a video game with programmed characters. It feels like, man, there's just characters living their lives, just walking by, have nothing to do with the main story. But anyways, I can go on and on about that, but that's so cool. Also, in the different environments, like you go up north, you're in the mountains, and it's very snowy and it's cold. You go in the south, it's hot and more deserty. There's one section that's more like a swamp area, so you feel like you're in the swamp, which is really cool. Yeah, so I love the different kind of towns you go through and different environments. It's very cool how they do all that. And just a story, of course, you like get to rob banks and trains and all this, just like in a Western, and just how the story develops and certain villains kind of come and you have to fight in your own gang. There's certain characters that are kind of more villains and all this. Anyways, and so many different turns and twists that I can't even get into in this video game, but it's a very long video game too. It's a very long story. Even after you think the main story is kind of over, there's like this after story that you're like still playing. I'm still playing this game. Like, I feel like I'm done with it. So very cool. Never really played anything like it. Definitely one of the best video games to really immerse you into a whole world building scenario. Anyway, so yeah, that's why I got Red Dead Redemption 2 at number 7 on the list. So I'll end it with number 6, and this is Spider-Man on the PS4 that I have. Yeah, this is the best like superhero video game I've ever played. And well, maybe not Batman. It's between this and Batman, I should say. But Spider-Man is one of the best, maybe the best Marvel game I've ever played. Again, it's like if you took this Spider-Man story and made it a movie, it'd be like maybe the best Spider-Man movie ever made. Like, the story's that good. Like, you're like, man, why can't they do a story like this in the movies? But yeah, you're playing Spider-Man. You got and again, Spider-Man is one of the best collection of villains ever too. So I love that playing as Spider-Man is so cool, and different villains and different storylines that get in that you have to come across. And you have Mary Jane, your kind of off and off again girlfriend. You have some story moments with her about your relationship as well. And of course, the best storyline is with Doc Ock, who's like your mentor, like you're interning for him. He's a very smart genius scientist inventing things, and just how that character goes. And it's Doc Ock, so he's going to be a villain at some point. But at first, he's kind of this nice older guy that's your mentor that you like look up to, and how they slowly you see him starting to crack, starting to have mental issues or something like that, starting to get angry, and he's starting to something's starting to change. And then finally you get that moment where he turns total villain evil, and then you have to have that fight with him, the very emotional fight like you have in a movie. I mean, like I said, it's just like you're in a movie. You're like, you're my friend, and he's like, I gotta get revenge. And anyways, and you're trying to talk him down because he's your friend, but he won't listen, so you have to fight him. It's one of the greatest moments in the video game I've ever played, any video game. Also, this is just awesome to play as Spider-Man web slinging through New York. I've never played a video game like this where I felt like I was in a real city I've never been to New York, but I feel like I was. And I spent hours and hours on this video game just spinning around New York, seeing the different sites like I was a tourist. I was like a tourist in New York City. I'd be going, oh my gosh, there's the Empire State Building, and oh my gosh, there's town, what do you call it, Times Square. Oh, there's the park, whatever it's called, the big park. You can go through there, and you feel like you're in that park. You can't go to the Statue of Liberty, but you can go to a lot of stuff. Like there's Rockefeller Center. There's Broadway. You see all the Broadway shows and people walking around there. And the different areas, Manhattan, Brooklyn, whatever, how they're different, and see all. Anyways, I thought that was so cool. And one of my favorite things to do, that's why it's so high on this list probably, is that you can run up buildings and then jump off them, and you're just like way up high. You can see all of New York City, and you're just floating through the air until you use your web to sling on something. One of the most satisfying things I've ever done in a video game. Just run up Empire State Building, like the tallest building in New York. You're just running up it, and then you get to the top and you just jump off. It's like, I wish I was Spider-Man. That's like one of the coolest characters, and one of the coolest things is the web slinging on buildings and stuff like that, and a cool way to get around. The fighting mechanics are also really great. It's a lot like Batman, what they did with that, where the different moves with the webs are really cool, but you can have the spidey sense when someone's trying to hit you and push a button to dodge or block them, and so it makes it look like a real fight where like you can hit, block, hit, great fighting mechanic overall. But yeah, overall story is one of the best I've ever seen, and just the fact that feels like you're in New York City. That's why it's up at number 6 on this list. Like I said, all these, like Red Dead Redemption 2, all these games are just so amazing. It's hard to pick which ones are, top 5 and what are not. These two definitely are very close to top 5, but barely miss out on them. But anyway, so that's number 6, Spider-Man, on my list. And that'll be the part 2 of this video. And I'll finish with part 3 another time with my top 5 favorite cinematic video games. So feel free to comment on these video games if you play them. What do you think? Are they some of your favorites as well? And appreciate any comment. And besides that, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for liking it. Thanks to my guest, Kirk, who ran off somewhere. And besides that, thank you for all my subscribers for supporting the channel. I appreciate you all, and I hope you have a good day.